Good evening. This is Maestro with a 2v2 with a Don't Award 2 Retribution Elite modcast, and today we have a 2v2 on Medean Cliff Mines. Our first player is Hammer, playing as the Orc Warlock, spellcasting and melee hero. His first teammate is michalvongod, playing as the Space Marine Apothecary, healing commander who can sustain his troops out on the field. Their opponents, we're going to start off with Aximey as the Inquisitor, a spellcasting hero for the Inquisitor who can also upgrade to become a tanky melee hero. And finally, we've got Sir Gunter the Kaiser, playing as yet another Space Marine Apothecary. Oh man, look at that skin. Alright then, so, of course, Medean Cliff Mines, a rather classic map. A lot of epic battles have happened in this middle industrial area. Sentinel just kind of chilling out and finally does acquire a target. Sentinel will be able to probably do some good bleed against those Dire Avengers, especially if they're out of cover, but now they're in cover. And we do see a big miss on that Destructor, doing practically no damage, or rather minimal damage, to the Guardsman. But we are going to see that the Sentinel has taken enough damage to scare it off, and we are seeing kind of the Imperial Guard dance of back up the Sentinel, back up the Guardsmen, and ultimately they are forced off and don't do enough damage. Oh my god, the Sentinel, will it go down right now? That would be so horrible. It scared me for a second. It's still not being microed. Be careful, Sen. That actually went down. I can't believe that. I really was not expecting to see a Sentinel dead that early, especially after it had just been upgraded with the Stomp. Apothecary does not go down. That actually was rather close, and this one squad of Tactical Marines is in a little bit of trouble. And finally, but that one squad of Tactical Marines did manage to trade out positively. If anything, that's almost a small win for Gunter, because he actually killed a scout model. So a little bit of a miss micro to keep those scouts out of cover and let them tank damage from the Tactical Marines. Definitely want the Tactical Marines tanking damage, and what he realized, but realized too late, was that he should have had his own squad of Tactical Marines tie up the other squad of Tactical Marines. Both Dire Avengers are in cover, and they were focusing on the Guardsmen, I think. The Inquisitor will probably go down here, however, and she does in fact go down. So double Guardsmen are now going to target the Tactical Marines. They do get out of there without losing a model. We are also going to see a squad of Sniper Scouts out on the field. Sniper Scouts getting a little bit close to that other squad of Scouts. They will take one shot. They don't manage to take a model on the Scout squad, but I feel like another shot, it's not going to take another shot because they are focusing on capping. If anything, I think they should stop capping and start actually doing some damage. Amazingly, once you actually put a sniper rifle on a squad of scouts, they actually no longer really become a great capping unit. It's not that their ability to cap is actually changed, but the relative advantage of having them in a position to cap has decreased a little bit. You want them farther back to take advantage of the range that they now have with the sniper rifle, and really also make sure that they're actually shooting to take advantage of that burst damage that you get from the sniper rifle. Warlock will approach, but he realizes that he might soon be taking suppression damage from the heavy weapon squad. Guardian weapon team from Hammer does retarget the Tactical Marines in time before they get around the firing arc. It looked like they were trying to play around with those firing arcs to see if they could get either the Guardsmen or the Tactical Marine squad around the firing arc, but it doesn't happen. Howling Banshees are going to come out for Hammer, and they will go for the cap on the contested victory point. VPs are actually significantly in favor of the red team, with 500 to 418. We're finally going to see some VPs start to tick down in favor of the blue team once the Howling Banshees get this capture. Let's see where these Assault Marines will go. Looks like they're not going to jump. They will walk over to the Tactical Marines, which I actually think is the right choice. And then they need to jump right on the Devastator Marines. If anything, I feel like we should see the response by the Banshees on the Assault Marines, and actually, even before the Banshees got into range, the Assault Marines were overwhelmed because there were so many other squads here that were able to focus down the Assault Marines even after they had jumped on the Devastators. So we do see sniper rifles out for both Space Marine players, and it's ironically, I do feel that the the value of the sniper rifle is somewhat lessened when you're playing against an Apothecary, because at some point the Apothecary should be able to heal up that damage before model loss happens, except for the fact that in this case, Michal was just a little bit too late. Meanwhile, he has upgraded to the customized Stormbolter, but let's take a look at what's happening over here. Grenades are going in, and we're just seeing some, I feel like probably some panic retreats. Maybe the guardsmen were just caught out of position because they're pretty much at full health. Certainly one squad is nearly at full health. The other one is at like 90%. And this should be a generator bash. Oh, I see. Wanted the flank on that heavy weapon squad. Does get the flank. Does not manage to take even a single model, though. So if anything, well, does force off the heavy weapon squad, which was important. But the power bash, I feel, on this generator farm is not as strong as it could have been. I think with the assistance of the Banshees, well, I mean, he completed a bash on one generator, and he's starting on the node. We definitely could have seen more if the Banshees had committed to bashing the generators. And we're actually seeing the repair on the power node. Instead of contesting the Dire Avengers, just the repairs. And he's managing to scare off the Dire Avengers just by walking to them with the Inquisitor, now with the Rosarius, granting the conversion field ability. Meanwhile, in middle, Assault Marines are jumping in. There is no hard counter to them at the moment, so they are just kind of going to town on the Devastator Marine squad. Now they are being suppressed by the Guardian Weapon team, but they had enough time to regenerate energy to actually just get a jump on the Guardian Weapon team. I'm hearing a grenade going out. I didn't see the grenade. Here are Banshees on retreat. Of course, always a scary thing, but it looks like they're still not going to get too much. I feel like if they had turned and tried to kill some of the guardsmen, they could have gotten a few kills, although, of course, you're not inflicting a huge amount of bleed when you kill just a few guardsmen. You might have been able to get 2, maybe 3 guardsmen, but it's very, very small requisition cost to replace those guardsmen. We do have a triple cap for the blue team, so now they're actually reversing that VP lead. This squad of scouts is just standing here, not getting that decap. Are they going to start it? No. Meanwhile, the Apothecary for Gunter, both Apothecaries choosing to upgrade to the customized Stormbolter. It makes sense, since when you're in a Space Marine mirror, you do have just a lot of shootiness on both sides, with Space Marines generally being a more ranged army than many of the armies in this game, except for maybe the Imperial Guard. And a lot of times if you do leave your Apothecary with his starting chainsword, it might be hard for him to really have much combat effectiveness, because he might just get focused down, trying to get into melee, and then he might have to use the heal on himself, which isn't really as ideal as using the heal on either your Tactical Marines or your Assault Marines. Chimera now out for Aximey, so he's in Tier 2. Only Hammer is the other person in Tier 2. 2 grenades! That's going to kill that squad, I think? No, actually, if anything, the first grenade knocked them away from the second, so no reactions on that either, so that was pretty lucky. He actually is upgrading to the Refractor Field to give him that knockback immunity. Looks like he canceled the Refractor Field so that he could get the reinforcement first. Now he's getting the Refractor Field. Assault Marines are stunned. And I actually want to take a look at that. Okay. So Chimera is actually moving in pretty close here, but I guess with the support of that Chimera, we are going to probably see a generator bash. We do see knocking down the Assault Marines. That's actually a lot of trouble for the Assault Marines. Not the Assault Marines. This Tactical Marine squad, I feel like, could have threatened to kill them there. It was really close. And now I feel like they need to turn their attention to the power generators. They're here. We could, in the time that I'm just talking about this, I feel like one generator should already be dead. Instead, they're just watching the generators. Okay, finally, the Apothecary decides to pick up the slack, but I feel that's not enough, because the Chimera, especially with the help of the Guardsmen, could do so much more damage than the Apothecary by himself. We are going to see one squad of Tactical Marines go down, and we are also seeing that the Warlock is upgraded to the Witchblade of Kurnos, which is an upgrade that, if I'm completely honest, I don't see the reason for it. if he can get into range of a guardsman squad, he can actually nuke them pretty hard. But I feel like that's also a pretty big if. And even if he does make it in, I feel like it's a very big commitment where he might have to retreat afterward after taking a lot of range fire. So, Apothecary will go down, however. So he was in there too far and too long. Now we are going to see the approach by the Apothecary from michalvongod. And in spite of everything, we do have a missile launcher from the attack squad, but I actually feel even with the missile launcher out on the field, I feel like that would have been a losing fight for the Space Marines, because I think with 3 guardsman squads right here, they would just be able to repair through any damage that the Chimera would take. I'm not sure, however, if they can repair through the damage of a las cannon and a plasma attack, or sorry, a missile launch attack. And it's moved out of the way fast enough. I don't know if the Howling Banshees do take enough damage before they can get into range of either the Whirlwind or the Chimera. Las Cannon is moving back up to respond to the soft pedal by the Chimera and the Whirlwind back up. It doesn't actually have either vehicle in its firing arc, just kidding. It has the Chimera right at the tippy toes of its firing arc, but it will have to just retreat out of there, taking too much damage from other units, and decides not to take any damage either itself in return. So we are going to see the Chimera. Chimera actually is getting quite a bit of value at the moment. Oh my god, here's also the death of that scout, which was not how I intended to finish that sentence. But we have the triple plasma guardsman. Triple plasma guardsman. Even though the raw DPS of triple plasma guardsmen isn't even as high as, say, like Casterkins, when you get those later on with plasma guns, the way they can massively out-trade Space Marine squads is actually brutal. Since they will inflict losses, I'm pretty sure, even through the Apothecary's healing, because we've got an Apothecary with the armor of the Apothecarian, but I'm pretty sure that even with that ability, that 3 squads of Plasma Guardsmen will just inflict losses on Tactical Marines. And just the reinforcement costs that they have to pay in return are nothing compared to what the Tactical Marines will suffer. Man, Aximey really wants a lot of range damage because he's also getting a squad of Stormtroopers. Unless he's getting that for anti-vehicle damage. There's the Witchblade of Kurnos. Actually does get value on the Assault Marines. That could be the end of the Assault Marines. Oh, man. Oh. I thought they were going to be saved by that Whirlwind for just a second. But then they do get finished off. Grenades. Wow! Nice response. I don't think any of those guardsmen... Yeah, none of those guardsmen took any damage from that grenade. That was so close, though. I was wondering. We're seeing players here where I'm honestly not sure what caliber of players that we have. Certainly, those Banshees in the base definitely make me question things. But I do feel that the Chimera play from Aximey has been quite good. Except, is he going to now make me eat my words? I certainly hope not. But he had the reaction time to put all of the guardsmen back in the Chimera so that they wouldn't take any damage, which, I mean, of course it's what you're supposed to do, and if I were watching players who I know for sure are very good players, that would not surprise me at all. But I was worried for a second that he wasn't going to react, and if he hadn't reacted, he would have taken a lot of damage. Tactical Marines come down from a drop pod. I feel that they are in a bit of a... I don't know. I mean, they're kind of put behind enemy lines, and it ultimately ends up working out for them. I was afraid that they had been put a little too far behind enemy lines without enough support, but I think the Chimera from Aximey right now, to me, this looks like... I do feel that Aximey is currently winning the game. His team does have the VP deficit, but I feel like if he keeps playing the way that he's playing, I feel like he would be the deciding factor, because at least from what I have observed so far, he does appear to be the most skilled player in this match. I could be wrong about that, but I would say at the very least he is certainly playing the best in this match. Playing to the strengths of his race, having micro, using units well, making good unit choices. And I mean, the synergy between the Guardsmen and the Chimera it's a classic part of how Imperial Guard play, those all being core units. Does need to back up a little bit, taking a lot of damage from the Fire Dragon squad. Does start backing it up. And I feel like, yeah, Guardsmen come out, they start repairing, and then they start just focusing down the Fire Dragons. And that's exactly how it's supposed to be played. Oh no, though. There's the Witchblade of Kurnos. Does take out the heavy weapons team, but also does sacrifice. And again, just they go right back in. So if anything, at this point, I honestly want to see Hammer not. I honestly want to see Hammer not throw grenades from the Guardsmen anymore, because he's just blowing a cooldown, blowing energy, getting close, and then probably just retreating his squads and taking a lot of losses. Wraithlord is out for Hammer. He actually put a Bright Lance on it. This is something that is not terribly common, since the Shuriken Cannon. In general, I feel that the Shuriken Cannon overall gets more value. But of course, the two upgrades do serve completely different purposes. And this does give him something that he can just kind of have the Wraithlord stand around. And wherever the Wraithlord is standing around, the Chimera cannot quite have as much free reign as it would otherwise. In fact, there's nothing really that threatens the Wraithlord that hard at the moment. Not in the form of vehicles. And we are seeing, yeah, Stern Guard veterans, not exactly the strongest AV damage. And also with Aximey losing his heavy weapon team, doesn't have that las cannon availability, and even got the assault kit. To be completely honest, if anything, well, I don't know. It's a tough choice. Certainly when Hammer does fight head-to-head against Aximey, the Shuriken Cannon on the Wraithlord would not be doing a huge amount of bleed to Aximey. But the Bright Lance Warlock, Bright Lance Wraithlord rather, is also not hugely powerful. So Wraithlord going to move back in with the support now of some Dark Reapers. No, I'm completely... No, some Warp Spiders. And it also made sense to me in my mind, like, wait a minute, Dark Reapers against Imperial Guard? Although there is also a Space Marine player that he could use it against. Warp Spiders really... That's a purchase that really makes quite a bit more sense. Better against the Imperial Guard than the Dark Reapers. And there's the fact that it does give that Haywire Grenade to finally start dealing with some of these vehicles. And the Wraithlord does have to be a little bit careful. It is doing some light damage to the Chimera, but as we can see, the damage to it is very light. And the repairs, oh my. Look at all those heals coming out as well. Haywire Grenade does go in on the Chimera. This time, once again, we just see the reaction from Aximey, just putting the Guardsmen back inside the Chimera. And then they took no damage whatsoever. The Chimera itself takes minimal damage from the grenades. Chimera does have to be a little bit more careful and start respecting this Predator. Okay, Predator is no longer in range, but these vehicles are not being threatened that hard. Lehman Russ just in the back has been upgraded to a Vanquisher Cannon. Does give it more range, I'm pretty sure, and does make it more effective against vehicles than the standard battle cannon that it comes with. 1-to-1 cap between these two teams, 176 to 137. We are going to see Fire Dragons. I feel like Fire Dragons haven't had that great of an end of anti-vehicle work, so now they're just working on a target that won't shoot back. And luckily they do bash generators pretty well. And the play right now, I feel, is a little on the too passive side. I feel like the red team, I mean, they actually have a pretty significant advantage in terms of their army builds because they have quite a few more units. Positioning right now is not favoring the Predator for Sir Gunter, or is it? Predator for michalvongod actually does go down first, and that actually means the Predator for Sir Gunter is actually going to stay alive. I felt he was backing up into a wall, he had low hit points. Devastator will try to set up, except for the fact that it's being tied up by the Inquisitor. Inquisitor is stunned, and the Inquisitor also has the Holy Brazier. Does have to back up at some point, does take too much damage. I believe that's the advanced healing coming out from, where is Sir Gunter? I can't even see his Apothecary, but there it is, right next to the wreckage of that Predator. And the advanced healing, just doing that area of effect healing. And for once, we actually see the guardsman actually get hit by the grenade, but it barely did anything in that particular engagement. Double cap now for the red team. And I think this Wraith Lord also goes down. As long as the Predator, I'm pretty sure only one more shot from the Predator should finish it off, and there it is. Oh, but the Predator had to extend pretty far in, and I think it might even go down. No! I think it would have been just one more shot from the Bright Lance. But I think it just moved out of the Bright Lance's line of sight in that particular case. Triple cap now for the red team, and I mean, although we've still got victory points left, and actually, I mean, at this point, although there are some victory points left in the bank for Hammer and michalvongod, I think I don't see how they win this. I mean, luckily for them, since michalvongod was playing as the Apothecary, he used his global ability to just restore both commanders, because otherwise, if they're both dead, one of them has to pay a requisition to get back online. Okay, we are going to see a recap by Hammer on the blue team's natural victory point. And then at some point, well, they've got to contest something. It's actually a really tough call. I think the better call would actually be to commit. Well, I would say commit to try to capturing the red team's natural, since it's less well defended than the contested victory point. But then they just open themselves to getting their natural back capped. But they do have to make a choice soon, and I think the choice will mostly just come on a push forward with the Land Raider Redeemer. They still have far fewer units, and there's certainly vehicle counters, especially in the form of this Vanquisher Lehman Russ. Meanwhile, man, we've got 3 unupgraded scout squads for Sir Hall for Sir Gunter. He just wants the repairs for probably not even just himself, but also for Aximey too. So I think this is probably just the final push attempt by the blue team. Fire Dragons do get quite a bit of damage on this now level 3 Chimera. Is that going to be a rocket run? It is a rocket run. Doesn't actually hit that much. In fact, a lot of that rocket run kind of missed. Does get the Fire Dragons. Doesn't manage to kill the Fire Dragons, but that's certainly them forced off the field in a very critical engagement. They will just retreat straight to the Land Raider Redeemer, however. Grenade goes in. Just an instant retreat from Sir Gunter. Is that going to be that's going to be an Eldritch Storm? Mostly misses. In fact, I don't think any of those Eldritch Bolts... Okay, one does get in on the Predator, so the Predator is effectively haywired, meaning it's disabled. And we are going to see the Whirlwind actually go down. So Predator right now is disabled, and it's taking damage. And Sir Gunter actually just lost a lot, and somehow the blue team is clawing their way back into this game. And they can actually kill the Predator. So somehow, some way, that engagement went in favor of the blue team against all odds. Aximey is still alive, and all his vehicles are still alive, but Sir Gunter just took so many losses that now he does need to take some time to rebuild. And I actually thought that was going to be probably the final engagement. And I personally predicted that the blue team were going to lose. So here's a back cap attempt by some stormtroopers. So let's see if Hammer sees this. He should. Yeah. No, he doesn't see it. He's backing off. Well, he has to back off, actually. But he also has to do something about these stormtroopers. He can afford to let them get a decap, but he absolutely cannot afford to let them have a full cap. And it looks like this actually might just be the game-winning play. A little disappointed, because that's basically going to be how this game will end. If he had done something to get them off there. And I also feel that the Warlock's upgrades were just not really the choices that he wanted. I think maybe the Immolator Blade instead of the Witchblade of Kurnos. Even though, I mean, the Witchblade of Kurnos did get value a few times, but I still feel that something like the Immolator might have gotten more value. And then I think maybe also the Warp Throw would have also been something that he could have gotten. Nevertheless, that will be the game ending in favor of the red team. 117-0. Pretty good game. I think varying skill levels of play. Definitely MVP for me has got to be Aximey with that Chimera play. Chimera's still alive. Even for good players, you usually see the Chimera dice at some point in Tier 3, even though it is such a core unit. But in any case, this game is over. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.